Hi, my name is Abby, and this is my story. I grew up in California on a military base for about a year until my parents got divorced. My mom moved back to Michigan, and my dad moved to Missouri. I didn't see my dad for about the first 4 years of my life because of the military. He got deployed, and so the time that I would have to spend with my dad, I would spend with my grandma. My mom struggled with mental illness, suicide. She would have a lot of boyfriends, alcoholism. There was a lot of things that my mom struggled with that also affected me and my sister. One of my earliest memories at 4 years old was having to save my mom from taking her own life. I remember her taking a lot of pills and grabbing her arm and saying, "Mom, please don't do this. Mom, stop." Fortunately, she did survive, but unfortunately, my trauma continued. Shortly after that, my dad came home from the military, he found a job, and the custody agreement was 2 weeks at my mom's and 2 weeks at my dad's. While I was at my dad's, he was mentally, physically, emotionally abusive, and at my mom's, it just felt like a revolving door of boyfriends that basically did the same thing. And at my dad's, from time to time, a family member would watch me while he was at work and take advantage of me in the worst way possible. I just felt super stuck, like I didn't have a refuge, I didn't have a place to go, I felt so alone. And this lasted from about the age 6 to 10 years old. At the age of 10, I decided that something needed to change. I built up the courage to tell my dad what has been happening for the past 4 or 5 years, and to my surprise, he listened. We talked about it, and he decided that the best course of action was to go through the court system. The court process took about 2 years in total until he got sentenced to 40 years in prison. Court was one of the hardest things I had to do because I had to face him and describe what he was wearing and look him in the eyes. During those 2 years, I was constantly reminded of how he told me it was my fault, and after a certain point of time, I believed it. So after that whole process was done, I was left feeling very empty and useless. I felt that everything was my fault or because of me. And throughout middle school and going into high school, I decided to fill that hole with drugs, alcohol, self-harm. I felt so alone and empty and almost turned to suicide. At some point in time, I realized that all these things that I tried to fill the void inside me didn't work. My faith journey started back in around 3rd grade when my grandma that I would go to church with suggested that I go to a Christian summer camp. When I started going to camp, I realized that all the girls around me had an active relationship with Jesus and I didn't. Even though I felt like an outcast, I still loved going to camp because it was the 1 week a year that I felt safe and loved and that I could be myself. On February 5th, 2023, I went to my first Heritage Church service. I remember exactly where I sat. I remember exactly what Pastor Jeff was speaking about. Everyone got these little papers, and he told us to write a lie that we believed about ourselves. And I wrote that I'll never be enough for anyone.
I'm not worthy of being alive. Yes, you are. That's a lie in the comments section of your life. But that's not how Jesus sees it.
As Jeff was taking those pieces of paper and throwing them at the cross, I felt like there was something calling me. There was something that there was weights taking off my chest, that this is a place I have to be in. This is a place that I'm safe. I just knew I needed Jesus. And if Jesus can live a fully human and a fully God life and go through all the struggles that we went through, forgive the sins of the worst people, the worst actions that they have done, that I can too. And that God gives me the courage and the strength to forgive the people that have hurt me. No matter what, God's plan will always be greater than my plan. That He puts us through struggles that He knows that we can only handle. That through my abuse, through my struggles, through my emptiness, that I found Him. And without that, I wouldn't be here right now.